like if you want to address the audience.
To the right.
Mm-hmm. Hello and good afternoon, Detroit. You are watching Beauty in the D, where we focus on power, wealth, and style. We're streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, as well as other top social media platforms. So please like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. And thank you for watching Wjzz Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. So this week, like every week, every Saturday that we're on here, we bring you nothing but the best, all boss chicks and boss guys. And so today we have Nicole Gilliard, who is also no exception to the rule. So I'm going to read her short bio. And we're going to get right into it because I have a lot of questions for this beautiful young lady. So we have Nicole Gilliard, who is a friendly neighborhood electrician, who's also part owner and operations of Wjzz Electric and Solar. So after 5 years as an IBEW Local 58 apprentice and a 2.5-year run as a journeyman electrician, she finally decided to tackle the requirements with the state of Michigan and earn her master electrician stripes. During that time, she was fortunate enough to work with companies such as Motor City Electric on projects such as Little Caesars Arena, and also other contractors such as Centerline Electric and Electrical Power and Design. Having that experience and moving forward in her career, she realized there were some missing components in the field of her expertise. One of those being diversity, direct community engagement, and opportunity for those who face challenges in life, such as disabilities and lack of resources to gain access to better opportunities. This is what sparked her to team up with electrical contractor Tammy Black in the formation of Wjzz Electric and Solar. She chose to step away from a 9-to-5 in order to build a company and at the same time engage with the community in order to fulfill electrical needs for those who are of lower income, and also working to implement opportunity within the company that will give those who want to learn more about the electrical field a chance to build a career. The company is a grassroots company, but with more exposure and support from entities such as Wayne Metro, the EPA, and also nonprofits like Sidewalk Detroit are paving the way for a new future that's both beneficial for the community of Detroit, starting with East Warren, Jefferson, and Chalmers area, as well as for minorities that are interested in electrical work, marketing, and community service. Her dream is to reach as many people as possible in hopes to gain as well as spread opportunity. Her biggest accomplishments are her 2 children. Single mom life is no joke, but she is proof that with grit and a lot of coffee, you can wire your own path to success. Her children, Vamaya, age 13, and Mason, age 8, have been the motivation behind the journey. She dedicated the beginning stages of her career path to finding and having enough to provide for them as a single mom, but eventually found her niche. She never looked back, and sky is the limit. She grew up on the east side of Detroit near 8 Mile and Gratiot, and throughout the journey, she's had multiple jobs consisting of working as a pharmacy technician, working as a locator for URG, and many other jobs that barely paid the bills and did not support getting out of a decade-long traumatic relationship. However, finding the electrical apprenticeship program has created change with her, and she'll leave us with, I'm a great believer in luck and find that the harder I work, the more I have of it, from Thomas Jefferson. Her next steps consist of acquiring a builder's license as well as linking with those who are wanting to collaborate and build in the community through electrical work and community service. You can contact her at nrminvestmentsllc@gmail.com, or you can contact her directly by phone at 586-839-7940, and you can also visit the website. It's Electric and Solar Integrative Technology Solutions.mydurable.com. Thank you for being here and welcome to the show, Nicole.
Oh my gosh, I am so happy to be here. You have no idea. Like,
Oh,
I've watched you, I've seen what you do with the podcast and with the community and exposure, caring
oh,
about people so much, and I am so ecstatic. Like,
thank
so happy.
you. So we share that in common that we work hard and we're passionate about our community. I love this city.
Yes, absolutely.
Hmm.
And the longer you're here, you feel like you know everything, and there's so much more to discover. There's always something new.
It
So,
is. And that's what I love about it because we're watching Detroit literally go through like a transformation. And to be a part of projects and entities that um, complement and contribute to that movement, it's a blessing. You know, it really is. It's a blessing and it's a wonderful opportunity at the same time.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. Life is about purpose and making changes,
Hmm.
and when you can do that from where you're from, and you see opportunities to do that, and
Yeah.
link with other people who are in that same arena,
Yeah.
it's a formula for something great.
It is. And to do it from a place that you are from. Have you ever lived anywhere else, Nicole?
I do. I have actually. I bought a house a year ago out in Harrison Township.
Okay.
But I lived in the city most of my life. Everything that I do is in the city.
Okay.
My
Well, kudos
union
to
is
you.
in the
Congrats on the
city.
new house.
Thank you. Thank you. And that was just to get closer to the water. So I love the
Yes.
city. I do love the city.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you're still contributing. So I've had the opportunity to live in a few different states, and I'll be honest, it's nothing like Detroit grit and hard work. You know, we're just something different, and of course our style. You know, we're just something different.
Yes. Okay.
And people like you, an African American woman who's a journeyman and electrician, and looking to pursue your builder's license. So, you know, your story, your bio is really the epitome of just a testimony as far as stepping out on faith. Like, clearly you were doing well. You had a union job, a journeyman, but you stepped out on faith to start a business. What encouraged you or motivated you to make that move?
So I think like the biggest motivation for me, and I'm learning this in different areas of life, is just you have to get really uncomfortable. And sometimes life has a way of naturally making you uncomfortable. Uncomfortable financially, I was okay. You know, I made decent money, but we always want more, right?
Yeah.
No matter how much money you get, it's like, this is not enough.
Because your lifestyle keeps changing.
Your lifestyle keeps changing. But when you are searching for purpose and you're doing something day in and day out and it's still not a fulfilling thing, it kind of starts making you look in different directions. So I got really uncomfortable with where I was doing the same thing, and I didn't feel like I was progressing with like people and engagement, wanting to build something that I can call my own, you know? So
absolutely.
build something up and include other people in it. You know, the union's great. I would encourage everybody, shout out to the union, Local 58,
shout out.
IBEW, because that changed my life, getting into that. But it's a process, you know. A lot of people want to get in, but the window is narrow, you know.
And why is that?
It depends on work. So work in the city, how much work is going on. For the apprenticeship, there's so many people that apply. You know, there's an entry exam. So if you don't pass it on the first try, you know, you might have to take it again. And everyone that tests, there could be a waiting list because there's so many people looking to get in, and it goes off of job demand.
Okay.
So, I mean, once you're in it, it's a beautiful thing. But it just, I want to be able to create something else like other jobs, especially for women. When I look at black companies or electricians in general, it's very minute. It's not a big thing, you know? And so I want to have a different face for that, for people to see.
Absolutely.
You know, when you look at companies and you call, you don't always see that. You don't see women. So if you can see it, then you can envision it, and then you can possibly do it. So the more we can put people in the mindset of these things exist, the more they're apt to go into it, because we can do it.
Right.
Everything is just what you're exposed to.
That's the key thing, what being exposed. So you were not feeling fulfilled with your purpose, working, even though it wasn't financial, even though working. So how did you come across Miss Black and then just the whole formation of the company?
You know, it's so funny because I told myself I was going to take a contractor's course, and I did.
Okay.
Yep. So I took a contractor's course, and it just so happened that she was in the contractor's course as well. Now I was still working, and I knew what direction.
So this was something extra. You were just like,
Yeah.
people need to know that, like, opportunities don't fall in your lap. You know, like, you have to, like, plant these seeds and put in the work. So you're in this contractor's class that you're doing strictly not this job requirement or mandatory, something for you.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so you're in a contractor's class.
Yep. And so and everyone there is looking to become contractors and to build their business. Some people already had started their businesses. And so I ran into Tammy Black, and she's a great businesswoman. She's engaged with the community, doing nonprofit things. Shout out to Tammy Black as well. She has a community treehouse center. I mean, she's very big in the community.
Okay.
But her biggest thing was solar, and she was doing some solar, but as far as having like an electrician that could work with her, with her going to get the contractors and me being the master electrician, you have to have both of those entities, you know. And we came together, and it was so organic because for me, I could do electrical work all day, but it would take me time to learn more of the business aspect of things, putting those things together. You know, when you go to someone and you want to do work for them, you got to make sure you have everything in order, especially when it's bigger jobs. And things like that, you know.
Yep.
And then for her, she knew about, you know, how to engage in that arena, but when it came down to everything as far as electrical and building that, it was like, okay, I think I'm gonna need you to kind of tell me about that part of it. So coming together was like, wow, we could save so much time working together than trying to
get so much further ahead.
Yes. Yeah.
That was smart.
You know what? And it was so organic. Like, we just happened to sit next to each other. We didn't know each other. And as we talked more about what we were doing and thinking, it was like, we need to have a talk. You know? We need to sit down. So.
And then it's just, you know, I believe it's like that energy and that frequency. It's kind of like the old Chinese proverb that says, when the student is ready, the master will appear. It's like when you're ready to go to that next leg of that next journey, the people and or resources that you need just seem to come out of nowhere, almost as if they were just waiting on you to arrive. So that's what it sounds like with you two's partnership. So I want to ask you, what was the contractors class about? Like, what did that consist of? And I'm just curious, how many women were in that class?
There were 4 women in the class, and actually all 4 of us were African American women. So
shout out to you guys.
Yes, absolutely. And the rest were men. And so the contractor course was about like financially, how to set your books, you know, how to be on work. A lot about solar. With the IRA and everything that's going on, there's a lot of solar projects in the city that are coming here between this year and next year. Just for the Green Energy Act and fulfilling those requirements. So they went over a lot of how to write those contracts, how to prepare people for solar.
How to write the contracts.
Yes.
So this was an in-depth contractors class. How long did it last?
It was for a week and a half. And it was a while, like back in January, so I'm trying to remember everything. But half of it was at IBEW Local 58. And the other half was at NECA, the National Electrical Contractor Association. So we got to talk to people from NECA who deal strictly with contractors. And then we were at the hall, and we were able to talk to people who were electricians like us, but also people who had a lot of knowledge about solar and what was going on in that arena. So
that seems to be the direction that the world is going in, and even with the electric vehicle cars and the charging stations, like I mean, we gotta try to save the planet, you know what I mean? We do have to do our station call. We do it every 15 minutes. You are watching Beauty in the D, where we focus on power, wealth, and style. We're here live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and other top social media platforms. So please like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. And thank you for watching Wjzz Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. So what are like some of the prerequisites for that contractor class?
So from what I know, it was just a one-time class. I'm not sure if they're going to do it again, and that's what was so special about it. Because when I heard it, I'm like, I need to go.
You're like, I gotta jump on this.
I need to go jump on it. But it didn't have any prereqs. You know, I mean, typically, if you want to become a contractor, there are certain things you have to have in place. You know what I mean? For as far as the electrical contractor, that one anyone can take that, you know, because it deals with state rules and things like that. So as long as you can know like the Part 8 electrical rules, study up on that, you can take it. But as a contractor, you can't operate without having a master electrician signed on with you. So it's almost like you have to partner up in order for that to happen anyway.
Right.
I know electricians who have their contractor's license and they're working it that way. Or there's contractors that just strictly deal with that portion of it, and then they come together with electricians. But as far as like, then you have the general contractor, that takes a little bit more work than the other one, because now you're looking at more fundamentals of like carpentry and everything. Yes. And then the builders is like the one that's like the most 60 hours of prerequisite.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that in just a sec, because I'm excited for you.
Yes.
With that, I am excited for you with that. So, do you guys have any employees?
We do.
Okay.
So we're small right now. We have about 2 guys, so including me, 3.
Okay.
We have opportunity to expand. We're looking for more people, and right now, when you're starting off, you really only keep what you need. But as we're scaling, the bigger the jobs are and coming, like we do have people that are wanting to join and wanting to work. And then, I mean, as far as apprentices, we can take apprentices too. So if someone just wants to learn and come in and see how the electrical portion of things works, we're open for that too.
Now that's giving back right there. You know what I mean? To help someone, what is that saying? Give a man a fish and they'll be right back hungry. Teach a man a fish and they'll eat forever. Okay, I probably messed that up. But,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But yeah, like you're given opportunities, because you can have a very fruitful life financially being an electrician. I just love it. I think it's so boss. And even the basis of how your company was formed, it's like, you know what, I am the master in this area, and you're the master in that. And for 2 black women to come together and put it together, and just now you got employees, you're growing. So I know that we talked, you mentioned to me about you guys working with Wayne Metro, as well as, what was the other nonprofit organization that you guys worked with?
Sidewalk
Detroit. Oh, the EPA, and then Sidewalk Detroit. So how did you guys get affiliated with them, and what do they do? Because I'm seeing Wayne Metro like everywhere in the community.
So Wayne Metro has a weatherization project, and so there's a lot of older homes in the city of Detroit that they're looking to build up and make them sustainable. So it's not just electrical, it's insulating, making sure the windows are sealed, you know, unsafe things, making sure the service is up to date. So
I need all of those services myself. I have an older home.
And a lot of people are looking for that, and then with their partnership with the city and them being able to get the funding to get it done, they're looking for contractors, knowledgeable, and people that are going to take care of that. But
so Wayne Metro is seeking, so they don't employ contractors, those people that do that work directly. They come and get a small business owner like you are and say, hey, we have some work for you. That's how it works.
That's how that works.
Is that how Sidewalk Detroit worked with you as well?
Sidewalk Detroit is more of a nonprofit, and so that one I'm gonna give all to Tammy, because she knew them and she had that relationship. They have different projects, around the city, and the one that we got on was at Canfield Park. And there's a art sculpture that was revealed. It's beautiful. I would encourage anybody to check it out.
Where's that at? Give that out to us.
Yes, if you just type in Canfield Park, it'll come up. East Side Detroit. I don't got the exact address right now, but
so you're giving back to your side of town, East Side.
East Side. And they I lost my train of thought. So there's a sculpture being released, and they're having it lit. They want solar done, so they want it lit with solar, and to have it at night, a standalone system, off-grid, batteries, and everything like that. So we're working with them, getting all that prepared so that they can have that park lit, have some plugs there if people just want to come and plug in their USB ports, and all solar. All solar.
So let me just, a side note, sidebar, what do you think about people, or we're talking about homeowners who are looking or thinking to invest in solar? Is that much more energy efficient as well as cost efficient than our traditional way of receiving our energy?
I will say there are a lot of benefits to solar, and it just depends on what you want in your individual situation. Let's say if you're looking to offset your bill, your bill is too much and you want it cheaper. So you decide that you want solar, and that can be implemented with your service. So you're not totally off grid. You still have DTE, but during the day, your solar is going to power your home, and at night, you'll be using your DTE power, but typically you're not using a lot if you're sleeping, or you might have a light or two on. So in that sense, you're saving tremendously.
Yeah.
Some people want a fully off-grid system, and that can be more costly because now you're talking about battery backup. And that's
because the energy got to be stored somewhere.
It has to be stored. So in that sense, that can be really expensive, and someone might look at it as, I don't want to do this because now I'm paying into this. In the long run, you're going to save, but starting off, you have to invest.
Expensive.
You're going to invest. So it just depends on what you're looking for. There's different options for different people. I will say though, I've seen a lot of different things, so be careful who you're going to for solar, because it's really new, and some people are getting into contracts to where they're being financed years out, and these are people who are taking advantage of the time and like, okay, we can make money off of this, and it really doesn't make sense. The person isn't saving because now they're paying more to pay off. So you want to make sure that there's different tax incentives. You can get rebates. Some of these companies, they won't even tell you that, and then they can write it off and get the rebate, and
they can get your rebate on the company's taxes. Oh my goodness.
And they're not letting the homeowner know, like, this is entitled to you, and this is what can help you afford this even more. And this is all part of the IRA and the things that they put in place because they want to promote. So
thank you for sharing that. I'm sure a lot of people probably didn't even know that.
Absolutely.
You just educated me as well, because I had no idea that you could have both. You could have solar as well as DTE, and it still be cost efficient, like, because it is not new. And that's not my space, so I guess I wouldn't know that. And I'm gonna tell you, it's hard for me to wrap my brain around the whole concept of storing energy. You know what I mean? Like,
there's so much to learn still. Like, I don't say I know everything, because I do not, but it piques my interest. So when something new happens, I start digging into it and learning more.
You'll be taking some classes in a minute.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how did, and then the EPA, how are you guys affiliated and working with them?
Yes, so this is new. They did a press release, and it happened to be at Tammy's spot, the contractor. I told you she's all everywhere. So they chose her spot to do it, and what they talked about was the money that's coming here next year in order to fund some of these projects to help with the energy efficient. So a lot of it is solar based, but just like kind of I was talking with Wayne Metro, some of it is weatherization, and also the mayor has also put money into it just for the city of Detroit, because the EPA is giving money to the state, but the mayor has put in for the city as well. So there's a lot of different things coming in that direction, and so we are right there, front runner, have been talking and making sure those connections are there, because that's our main goal, to service the community, to be able to do that. And in order for that to happen, people need to know what's available for them to help them with that process.
So with the EPA, you mentioned like the emphasis on solar, right? So how does that tie into like low income families? Like we talked about Wayne Metro and the weatherization and that, but how does the solar tie into lower income families or households?
So giving the opportunity to have a lower electric bill or a lower utility. There's people that have had solar and their bill may go from like $300 down to maybe $50 a month, because most of their power usage is coming from their solar panel. And the biggest thing was being able to afford just getting the panel, getting it installed. But if the EPA steps in and says, we'll
help with
money,
install?
Well,
that's what they'll help with, like installation.
With funding to get that done. So,
You know what? The earth must really be in trouble. Like, you know what I mean? We must, for them to step in with all this kind of money, that's not small dollars.
No, not at all.
We must really need to do something. Wow.
And
No, go ahead.
And a lot of people I've seen, because I'll go online and see what people think and how they feel about it. And there's people who are saying, oh, well, there's tax dollars here, and so I'm paying for someone else to have, you know, something done. And it's not all like tax money necessarily. There's different projects that go on in the city, and then, you know, we have contractors that come from out of town. And they don't live here, but they make money and they leave. You know? But as part of some of the work that people do when they come here, they have penalties.
Yeah.
You know, if they can't fulfill certain quotas. So there might be something like, well, in order for this job to get done, like a bigger job, we need it to be this many people from the city that are involved in this project. And sometimes these companies already anticipate not doing that, or they may have that put into the budget to where they're like, I'll just go ahead and pay so I can get done with this and move forward. So that pot fills. It fills up because there's penalties, there's things going things going on in the city, and then at some point they have to release that money back to the community.
Because some of this is set aside. Like when they sit down and do planning and budgeting, they're gonna say, you know, we're gonna give this much towards here, this endeavor, or small businesses, women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses. So, yeah. Now, with regards to getting these contracts, like say with Wayne Metro, and I want you to share this in case there's some small business contractors listening and they want to scale their business or step it up. Is it difficult doing work with, like, say, Wayne? I keep saying Wayne Metro because I keep seeing the purple, their logo everywhere. Is it difficult registering or being able to do business with them as a small minority woman-owned business?
I wouldn't say it's difficult as long as you have your license, meaning you know your contractor's license, your master license on file, insurance. You know,
of course.
Make sure you got your insurance. Everything is together, and they can verify that. Then they're looking to have you on board, and I think that is so awesome because a lot of times starting off finding work is hard. You know,
I bet.
No one knows you. No one, you know, you're the new kid on the block.
Absolutely.
So with programs like that, it's smaller, but it's giving opportunity. And all you need is a small opportunity to show what you can do. And then people, oh, this person came in and did a good job. Let me have them do this, you know, and see how they can do. And from there, you just notoriety and
you're building your testimonials. Yeah, I love it. So when you work like with Wayne Metro, has it just been like one single project, or they're like, okay, we have this many homes we need you to go with? What exactly do you do with them? Because they do weatherization and all of that. What does your company, Is Solar, do with Wayne Metro?
Okay, so like for example, we just had some stuff sent in to us, and it's kind of just like the last ones. There were 3 homes, and for these homes they did a bid walk. So you may not be the only contractor there, but you'll go in, you'll walk through the homes, and they've already approved a certain amount of funding for the work to be done. Some of them need new services. The wires.
People are living in these homes too, right? So you're walking through a home that people live in. I just want to, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're walking in the homes, they live there. They've lived there for a while. They may have knob and tube wiring. That's just really outdated.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, their service is hanging on, but the wires are starting to crumble and it needs to be replaced. You know, some of the outlets may not be working or something's missing. It can be as small as like, okay, we just need to replace a light switch or a cover plate to something like we need to do a whole service upgrade because this is horrible, and in the next year it's not gonna last.
Right. So you won't know unless you go through and do a thorough walkthrough. So then once you do the walkthrough, as well as the other people who are there bidding on this, then you submit it as a proposal or work order. Okay.
You'll submit it as a proposal. And like I said, those are great opportunities. They're not concrete because you're not always going to get them. Somebody might come in and say, but it gives opportunity when you do get in there, because when you do a good job, just because you find someone to come in doesn't mean that they are doing it correctly, you know, especially if you're going for the lowest bidder. So if someone knows that your work is good, they're going to come and they're going to ask you to do it again, you know. So, but usually they already have a list of what it is that they're needing done in the home. So it's not like a blindly kind of finding things. But then, you know, you'll give them your price for it and you work from there. So.
And you go in and do the job. Okay, so for like one of the projects you've done with them, how long would you say it has taken?
It depends. Like a service change, you can get done in one day, but if you're doing a service change plus there's a list of other things in the house, I would say maybe 2 to 3 days.
Okay.
For the
So you in and out and on to the next.
In and out, on to the next. And it's so different from what I was used to before. Like before, I was doing a lot of commercial work, especially when I was with the union. So a lot of that stuff is long projects, but bigger companies have more money to fund projects like that and to do those things. So
it's nothing like working for yourself.
It's nothing like it. Yep, it's nothing like it. And that part of it is fulfilling too.
Because you'll get to those bigger jobs if that's where you guys even see yourself going.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we got to give a quick shout out. You're watching Beauty in the D live, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, as well as other top social media platforms where we focus on power, wealth, and style. So please like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. And thank you for watching Wjzz Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. We have here today Miss Nicole Gilliard, who is an electrician as well as a business owner. And we're just sitting here today chopping it up about the community, being a business owner, and being an African American electrician, which I just think is so boss, so cool.
Thank you.
So I have made my own acronym for BOSS, and that stands for Building Opportunities Superseding Stereotypes.
Oh, I love it.
And that's what you're doing.
Oh my God.
You're superseding the stereotype.
You know what? And when you put it that way, I mean, it's true, but I see so many women, like I see you, and the funny thing is we'll see each other and I'm like, oh my God, like I love what you do. And you're like, this is my lane, and then people will say that to me, I've met women that are firefighters.
Yeah, I love it.
Yes, and we're all doing that, but we're in our lane and we're moving forward. And I would encourage anybody, like, if you've been put in a position to do something and you can go further in it, just keep going. You're there for a reason, and why not take advantage and go the full length? Your purpose is within that lane, and you should take full advantage of it. So the only thing I did was I found an apprenticeship when I was younger. I really wanted to do that. And
but how did you find it? Because most black women, I mean, we're just being honest, don't go into that field. Electricians, even I see even a lot of us are sometimes intimidated with math. I mean, us black women. So please do tell, how did you find the apprenticeship anyway, and what made you know that this was your niche? Because you said you've had several jobs, pharmacy technician, not a bad job to have, but how did you realize and come to know that being an electrician was your niche and that was your lane for you?
Yes. I told you I was working for URG, and it was locating, I don't even think they're around anymore. I think that company got bought out, but it was basically a subcontractor of Miss Dig. So when you would call Miss Dig, then someone from URG comes out and they would locate your underground cable, water line, whatever it is that could be running where you need to work or put stakes or anything like that. And so I was doing that for a while, and it was okay, but it wasn't really, it didn't pay a lot, and then insurance and things like that. But I knew I liked the electrical, learning about electrical and those parts of it, because we had to learn a little bit about it for the locating aspect. And then my dad has always, my family is big on construction.
Oh, you see, you should have led with that. You didn't say that.
So, but he's a carpenter.
Okay.
But he was never in a union or anything. He just followed behind my grandfather. So, they all just, were good with their hands. My aunts, everybody were just, working with our hands. And I would see my dad, and I'm like, oh, that's, I like that. I want to work with my hands. And he'd have electricians come out, and he's like, I don't know nothing about that, Yeah. So right then and there, it was like, oh, something my dad doesn't know about, and I always looked up and I'm gonna find out about that, So fast forward, I'm working for URG. I'm looking for something different. I'm looking in the paper one day, and it says there's a new arena coming to Detroit, and they're looking for, kind of like we were talking before, when there's work being done, they want it to be a certain amount of people from the city. And back then I was in the city, and they needed 50% of people to be from Detroit.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh wow. So I wonder how that's gonna work, And I start looking more into it, and I wasn't an electrician or anything, but I'm just looking like, I think I want to see how I can be a part of this. They're looking for people, and I started looking online. I started looking up different ways to get involved with that, and I saw WC3, the Connor campus. they were having they called it a pre-apprenticeship. So it was like a introduction to electrical, introduction to carpentry, concrete, different things like that. They had a course, and I think it may went on for like a month.
Okay.
So you would go every day, you would sit down with different instructors, they would go over like math and different things that you would see and just stuff like that. And so afterwards they were saying, if you guys applied for an apprenticeship or if you get into one, we'll help pay for your tools, things like that.
Really?
Yes. So we were there, and we would have classes, and right there on Connor down the street there's Michigan Works. So we go to the class, we go back and forth and look at different opportunities.
Okay.
But there was this one instructor, and I do not remember his name, but he was such a blessing to me. We were sitting in the class, and I was talking to him. He said, I can tell that you are, you're very passionate about this. And he's like, this is good, you're taking this, but if you really want to learn electrical work, you need to look at the union. And I'm like, the union? Well, what is that? And he's like, the union is Detroit's biggest electrical union. Local 58 is the electrical union. They breed the best electricians. And he's like, look into it, because I went through it. I was in it years ago. He said, I'm not anymore, but he's like, I made the most money I ever made in my life. I learned, like, he just was, and so at this point, I'm like, oh,
so he inspired you. He just encouraged you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I go online and I start looking at, I'm like, oh, they got an apprenticeship. Oh, it's 5 years. Oh, I can get my license.
A 5-year apprenticeship program.
Yes. Yep. It's 5 years. And they offer different things. So like there's the inside wireman, which is what I did, was 5 years. And then there's 2 more that are, I don't think they're as long, maybe 3 years, one maybe 4. It's telecommunications, which is data and things like that. And then they have residential, which after getting it, I found out we don't get a lot of residential work because a lot of that is taken up by the non-union sector.
Okay.
But it's another reason why I was like, okay, well, I want to look into some of these homes and things like that with what we're doing now. But yeah, so I mean, I looked online, saw what it required. They wanted you to have algebra, high school. I'm like, okay, I've got that. They want to see your transcript that you graduated, things like that. A few things here and there. So I was able to submit everything, and it took them a year to call me back. I took the test. And I've studied my butt off, and I got a phone call back. I interviewed. I think there's like 2 interviews, and then you end up going, and that was back then. It may have changed a little bit, but then you go in and you get a physical, and I went in. And so one of the first companies I worked for was Motor City Electric, and when I was looking in the paper, it was saying like, we're looking for electricians, and we want them for the arena that's coming. And that first job with Motor City, actually, I lied. I was with EPD first, so I went to Motor City second, and I was with EPD for about a year and a half.
Okay.
But once I went to Motor City, my first job when I went in with them was the arena, because through that year they had already started the plans of everything.
Yeah.
And so by the time I had went over, and that's part of the apprenticeship, you kind of rotate between contractors, so you can learn different aspects of the trade.
Do you get paid while you're doing the apprenticeship?
Absolutely.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
Good
Okay.
too.
Okay.
You get paid good, and actually, your first 6 months you get a raise because you're learning. You're working under a journeyman. After a year, you get a raise, and then every year after that, until you complete, you get a percentage of the scale that a journeyman electrician would make.
Awesome.
So that's a motivator right there,
Yes, it is. I hope you are encouraging somebody right now.
Yes.
Maybe they can tell their children, think about this.
Yeah.
And to know that you have been a part of Little Caesars Arena, the structure of it.
Even when I go in there now and watch games, I'm like, oh, I was up there in the tension grid, or I remember when the court was just a big hole in the ground,
Wow.
and working in the restaurants and everything. You see it differently.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to work on Google, because Little Caesars Arena has Google's headquarters in there, and that's an amazing little area in there, and the pendant lighting and.
It's beautiful in there, first of all. I mean, it is absolutely beautiful. But I know that's got to do something for you when you walk in and like, you know what, I had a hand in this historical piece, this so relevant piece in the city of Detroit.
It does. It does. And I'm finding more and more, because when you're doing it and you're going through, you want your license and you're doing these things. and it's amazing, but you don't realize it until later on. Like, I look back when I was working, the Grand Prix was here the first year last year. Well, it wasn't here the first year, but it was the first year they put it back on the street. And I worked that with Centerline Electric, and even the GM building.
What did you do at the Grand Prix?
Getting everything set up for the scoreboards, power. They have chalets out there, and those guys are still out there. Shout out to them. They're working on it like now this year. But even the Renaissance building, you know, it's said to maybe, you know, soon it'll close down because a lot of the people that occupy that space have moved on. But I've done so much work in there, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I think about all the stuff we put into it, and then you look at it, and I'm like, dang.
The thought of it closing, it's like, oh my goodness, no.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. You should feel so good and so proud of yourself. I don't know if you do or not, but you should.
Thank you. Thank you. I do. I always, and I think that's that uncomfortable. I always feel like there's, you know, it has to be more. You know, I got to keep moving. Even with the union, like once getting the journeymans and, you know, getting the masters and I'm working, I'm thinking back to when it was me and the kids, and I was trying to figure out what I was gonna do, you know, when I was getting out of that relationship I was telling you about. And when I found the union, I'm like, wow, this is security. This is what I was looking for. Yeah. And then
you outgrew it.
Yeah, you outgrow it, and then you look back and you're like, am I crazy? Because the same security I was looking for, I'm about to go, and now I gotta try and
take a risk,
work something else out, you know. And it's like, but then that's faith. That's faith. And I think that's just how life goes, you know?
It is.
It moves. If it's not moving, it's not alive.
You can't be stagnant. And and this is Stephanie Coney talking, this is just me, but my personal belief is that the secret to success is to never become complacent. Once you do that, what do you have to strive for? You know, you got to continuously set some goals for yourself. Whether it's financially, whether it's I need some more accolades, whether it's I need to take my company to the next level. I want to, you know, beat my own high and, you know, set a new record for myself. You know, it has to be something. You just can't be stagnant. So when you went through this apprenticeship program for 5 years, were you single momming at that time?
So halfway through I was. Like, the first half of it I wasn't, but I probably should have been, because at some point I was like, gosh, I'm not gonna finish this. Like, mentally I'm drained. There was so much going on. It was hard to just focus and because it is, you know, you're going to classes twice a month, and in between that time they're giving you work to do. You're going to work, you know, and then when you have extra things going on at home, you got to really be there for your kids, be there mentally for your job. Yes, and it was making that more difficult than what it should have been, you know. But towards the end of it, I was kind of separating myself from the things that I felt were holding me and keeping me from really putting my all into things. And after I finished it, I had put myself in a position to where I could do that. I could move on. And so I think it was a trying time, and it makes me appreciate things even more now. I'm reflecting on it right now, and it's just crazy.
Good for you.
Yeah.
And good for you for finding your focus, staying focused, because a lot of us, you know, single mothers, you know, we can get caught up in, I mean, it's hard just single momming and setting goals for yourself, as well as being a positive image and a force for your kid or kids. You know, that's a lot in itself. And then to pursue something that is just so really off the grid, you know what I mean? Kudos to you. So
thank you.
You know, I hope you definitely inspiring me, but I hope you're an inspiration to someone who's listened to the show. I hope that they can see your strength, because you certainly don't look like what you've been through, okay? You just look beautiful, you're glowing, and you know, kudos, shout out to you, okay?
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And you know, like we were saying earlier, and I feel like everybody can relate in their own way.
Yeah.
But when things are happening to you, they're pushing you out of that comfort zone. I feel like if that relationship that I was in before hadn't have been uncomfortable, then I wouldn't have been looking for more. Because I'm like, okay, this is good. But the fact that it was, I'm like, I gotta find something else. And just like with the contractors course, me going there, the job that I was at, it got really uncomfortable for me. And when I say that, I had to be to work, super early. The last job I was at, I was going all the way to the airport, but then the kids have to be, certain places at certain
pick
times.
up, drop off,
And working certain hours, like I wasn't seeing my kids as much, so that, I've talked to people who have gone through the trade, and they're like, your kids, they grow fast. You'll work all this time and you won't see them. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this contractor's course. And then once the opportunity came to kind of see something that I could build off of, had I not had that uncomfortable, I wouldn't have done that. So
and you wouldn't have met your business partner.
Wouldn't have met her. So life kind of just kicks you sometimes.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And that's a blessing when it does. Keep kicking me, keep pushing me, keep making me uncomfortable so that I can, continue to be the best version of myself, you know? So, So I got to ask you this. How is it being an attractive woman working in a field with so many men?
Oh my God.
Talk about that.
Stephanie, there are so many different, going through the apprenticeship, you know what I'm saying? You learn how the men are, and then you build thick skin. But in the beginning, there's nothing anybody can tell you to prepare you for not just the work itself, but all the personalities, the guys, the things you deal with. There's so many different type of men. There's single men. There's men that probably never talk to a woman a day in their life because they just, I'm a worker, I'm a white, So people try to test you, come at you at different angles. But then you have men who are so happy to see a woman that is doing that for herself. And so they want to embrace you. They want to take you in. They want to teach you. Yeah. So I just learned to take each person as their individual, and based off of my past experience, if I see something that kind of looks like it's not right, it's probably not, and I'll use that to guide me on which direction to go in. It's a different experience, but actually now I'm so used to it, I don't even think about it's the norm, you know what I mean? So I expect for them to be there, and I don't take it a certain way. You just
get your thick skin. It's like, look, I'm here to do a job, and I want to go home.
And we get it done.
So the last thing that was on your bio is a builder's license. This time goes by so fast. Oh my God, we have like 3 minutes. I hope Roger don't get mad, but I feel like I need to go over by 2. The last thing that you mentioned was about your next step, which so I don't think that you're uncomfortable. You're comfortable with doing something different, and that's your builder's license. How are you going to tie all of that into what Nicole's doing already?
And that's the funny part. I don't know yet, because when I had my journeyman's license, there's no extra money for getting the master's, but it was just it was on me, get the master's. You're at this point, and that's what I meant, when you are in a certain lane and you see something that you can do, you don't always know why, but if it's moving forward and it's the next step in the journey that you've been sent on, I'm like, okay, it's there. And I procrastinated on it. I'm like, okay, it was actually my boyfriend who had told me, you have to take this test today. I'm about to watch you sign up for it. I'm going to the store, when I come back, you better sign up. I'm like, dang, he's right, because I've been pushing it off. But I was going to do it, but ended up doing it and got it. And a little bit after that, I met Tammy. Now, had I not had that license, we couldn't have partnered up, because you have to have a master.
It was beneficial.
It was beneficial, but I didn't realize why, but it kept being on me to do it. So I know the builders, I'm not saying it's right now in the near future, because there's so much stuff that we're doing now. I just want to kind of focus on that. But I know for some reason it's something that I need to do, And so whenever I have those feelings, I just I learned to go with it. The uncomfortable we were talking about, being uncomfortable, being pushed in a certain lane. If I'm feeling a certain way, and I don't look at it as a bad thing anymore. I had the security of going to work, doing these jobs. Now we're filling it out. We're doing things that's uncomfortable. And now I can say, okay, well, I recognize this feeling, and I don't have to have anxiety about it. As long as I know I'm doing my best and I'm moving forward and I'm trying, then I'm going to go down that path, and I'm going to see what it can do. to make it work. So
That's awesome. So, real quick, what advice would you give to someone who's looking to get into apprenticeship or being an electrician, especially a woman, but anybody, but what advice would you give to them? And leave us with your contact information.
yes, absolutely. So if you are looking to get into the apprenticeship and go that route, you can always go to eitc.org. Check out the Local 58, see what they have to offer. But my advice would be, when you see something and it sparks your interest, like, don't think you have to be here first to get it. Like, start with what's right in front of you, because that's what gets you going and gets you in that direction. I didn't know I was going to be working on the arena. I just saw it in the paper and I said, oh, WC3 has something called a pre-apprenticeship. It had nothing to do with the union, nothing to do with 58, but that route got me to where I wanted to go. With everything going on now with EV chargers, infrastructure, there's going to be different jobs in that area that are not all electrical. They're going to need maintenance. They're going to need this stuff to be installed a certain way. Like there are other components to that may not all be electrical. So if you see something new coming and you know you're interested in it, don't think, oh, I can't do that because I'm not this. Look into it. See what all might be involved. You might come up with a niche for it that hasn't even really been looked at yet. And now you're already seeing what you can do to be a part of it. And you know it's going to be there if there's funding and things like that. So that's what I've got.
And your contact information. How can they reach you?
So my email, I'm going to put my email. It's NRM Investments LLC1 at gmail.com. I'm on Facebook. It's just my name, Nicole Galliard. So that's pretty much where we can meet. And if anybody has any questions or opportunities, or just feel like there's something that we could connect on, just like say hello and let's talk.
Let's talk. Well, thank you for stopping by and talking with me.
Yes.
And thank you, Detroit, for watching Beauty in the D Live, where we focus on power, wealth, and style. We have been streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and other top social media platforms. So please continue to like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. And thank you for watching WJZZ, the coolest station in the world. And we'll see you back here next week and every Saturday from 1 to 2.
Thank you.
I think it was a great show. I think we're about to be off in a second. Yeah.